Hello and welcome to the F1 show with me, Hugh, as we preview the Miami Grand Prix this week in the south of Florida. It's going to be, I'm sure, a good race. Potentially could be stormy weather, but it's going to be exciting. I'm sure we'll see big improvements and upgrades from McLaren and Ferrari, or will Mercedes drive away into the distance? Well, we'll have to see exactly what happens on Sunday night. But we've got a very important message. We are doing a live stream on Podbean. So if you have the Podbean app and you're listening on the podcast applications, then you'll be able to tune in live from 8:50 p.m. where my good self and also my good friend Rue, he'll be joining me, and we will do commentary absolutely live on 8:50 for the start of the Miami Grand Prix. So it won't be the sprint; it will be the official proper Grand Prix. Well, it's been 5 weeks since we last had a Grand Prix. Have you managed to stand all that time without some great racing? Well, I've been looking at the headlines, and the weather is the first thing that could be ropey. They are expecting rain and potentially thunder and lightning. And now, seemingly, if there is lightning, they have to not only stop the race, but they have to wait for 30 minutes and then they can actually start the race. Perhaps with all the electrical devices on board the cars, if the one gets struck by lightning, then it will send it off like Back to the Future into a different time zone. But yes, so they've got to take very strict measures. Hopefully, though, we're not going to have lightning. A little bit of rain might close things up, but we'll see how that goes. And talking of rain, the next issue that many of the drivers have is they have never actually driven these cars in full wet conditions. So if it's a storm and all of a sudden there's a huge downpour, will have to see how the cars respond. Many are saying that there could be big differences in the amount of speed difference in the cars, with some cars reacting better than others. Also, with all these battery powered, will they be able to even use that? And will it make any difference? Some are saying that the driving in the wet doesn't actually make a big difference to drag, but it will obviously make a huge difference to cornering. And we'll have to see how they do. Miami it's had mixed Grand Prix. Verstappen has done extremely well there, winning 2 races. And of course, we've had Lando Norris win races there as well in the past. The only person who hasn't been on the podium is Lewis Hamilton. Maybe he could do that this weekend. We'll have to see. And of course, we've got a sprint weekend as well at Miami. Now, the timing for that is slightly different. The sprint race starts at 5 o'clock UK time. Now, what's interesting about the Miami Grand Prix and Stefano Domenicali's latest words about the start of this season? Now, many are seeing the Miami Grand Prix as a really big tester. Will the new regulation changes and the adaptations that they've had to actually make any difference? Now, Stefano Domenicali doesn't seem to think that having V8 engines or any kind of major direction change that would go back to that kind of arena when we had V8s and less battery power, he doesn't seem to think that that actually makes any difference with F1's new fans. Now, he has, from a commercial perspective, he has said that the viewing figures are still going up with the current situation. If we look at the figures, it was up by 26% in Australia compared to last year, 32% in China, and 19% in Japan. Now, those figures actually defy earlier figures that we were given, that showing that in many cases the race views were actually down. But seemingly people buy their seats in advance, and that's why like many of the ticket sales are quite good, and so it has been busier than last year. So he thinks that the fans actually like the current product. And he went on to say, if I see the survey of what is going on all around the world, because we are a worldwide sport, with the new fans of Formula One, the result is magnificent, he said. It's great. Everybody is saying what's going on, a lot of action, and this is what people want to see. But the inevitable follow-up question, however, is whether that action is pure enough. Yes, the number of overtakes has increased significantly due to the yo-yo racing, but those who understand the underlying factors question how artificial it is at times. One driver makes an overtake and then his battery is depleted, meaning he gets countered on the very next straight. Officially, that counts as 2 overtakes, but it might not be the purest form of racing. Now, to me, it seems like Domenicali, well, he doesn't share that view, and he seems to think that everything is fine. I wonder, will he last that long? Because I think there's quite a lot of people in the Formula One that realise now we have to change it. They have to, go back to F1 proper V8 engines and V10 engines. That's really where it's going. We've seen how that era of car, whenever they come anywhere near a track, thousands of people come out, and this has been kind of shown that recently McLaren did a show run at the Miami Grand Prix preview. It was just done yesterday, and thousands of people came out to see Mika Hakkinen drive his old McLaren. Plus, we had Piastri driving Lewis Hamilton's McLaren, and it really was quite special. And everyone gave a huge cheer when they could hear those great sounds. And it does make a huge difference because that's part of the show. Yes, you can have overtakes, but you can have that as well as great sound. And at the moment, we certainly don't have that at all. In fact, another very successful event was the historic Grand Prix in Monaco. And that is a great event. It's always lots of action, and you get to hear those great cars and also all those wonderful liveries that bring back the wonderful history of Formula One. So definitely well worth a visit and an awful lot cheaper than if you're going to the main Grand Prix. In fact, Bruno Senna, he was driving his uncle's Ayrton Senna's 1991 McLaren. Emerson Fittipaldi took the wheel of the M23 as well. What an incredible sight that would be to see those cars driving around. But let me know in the comments what you think about the current state of Formula One. I know that many of you are not very happy, and I really hope that we can see as fans that they will listen to us and they will start to go forward. But I don't think Stefano Domenicali is the right man for the job. I think they're really making a big mess with that. But that's my own personal opinion. You can let me know yours. And if you do have any particular comments, you can email me info@hughhatrick.com and I'll gladly put them into the next program. So let's get on with the F1 show. Now, what's quite interesting is that the drivers have all agreed that they want to have a much bigger say at the table. So, when the regulations are being gone over and new regulations are being thought up by the FIA, then people like Lewis Hamilton and Pierre Gasly and Max Verstappen have all said they want to have a proper say. Now, Pierre Gasly did say that it has been more constructive, and since they had to make the changes to the regulations in the last few weeks, they've actually had better discussions with the regulatory bodies than in a long time. So perhaps, maybe in just a little way, they are actually beginning to listen, and we will see some good results. Max Verstappen has said, I hope we can have more and more involvement. I'm sure that we can have a really good input about that. I think if we would have that, say, 5 or maybe a bit more like 6 years ago, then we probably wouldn't have been in the state that we are in now. But this has been a rarity. The drivers were not part of the discussions in forming the 2026 rules, and the direction was defined entirely by the power unit manufacturers. Once the initial concepts filtered towards the drivers in the simulator, they got to work with what they had. The problem was that the inputs needed to produce the best lap times possible were completely alien to them. So when they raised this to F1 stakeholders, they were told that it would improve with development, but that has turned out to be untrue. And what we see today is a much evolved version of what the drivers were initially given, but it rather underlines just how troublesome the early versions of the cars could be. Yep, it's not looking great, is it? Maybe the races might give us something a bit more special and we'll be able to think, yes, that's been a race worth watching. Because every year, Formula One goes through its dramatic changes. Every year we have, winners that you maybe have thought that wouldn't happen, or they might not have had that chance, but they managed to get in there and pull off a victory. But we have to hope that Formula One will start to kind of listen more to the fans and start making cars that are not just great to watch and listen to, but also have proper races where overtakes are real and not fake. So we'll go into Sunday's Miami Grand Prix with great trepidation. Will it rain? Will we see another great start by the Ferraris? Will the Mercedes be just as competitive, or will McLaren, Ferrari, and the other teams catch up and make it a race to remember for all the right reasons on Sunday? You'll be able to catch it live with me and my good friend Rue at 8:50 p.m. UK time, and that will be on Podbean Live. So it will be wonderful for you to come and join us with that. So take care, everybody. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Leave a like, a share, and follow if you're following us on Podbean or YouTube. I'll try and get my words to come out properly. Take care, everyone. Drive fast, don't crash, and bye just now.